Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tim Kidwell Outdoors, and today I have a treat for you guys. I just filmed a live conversation on Instagram with the legend Paul Elias, and now actually I'm going to be posting it right here on YouTube for you guys to enjoy, get some tips from him. We talked about what it's like to go pro. Is it easier to go pro nowadays than it was back then? We talked about his 1982 Bassmaster Classic win. We talked about his Falcon legendary weight of 132 pounds. Insane. So stay tuned, guys. Definitely leave a comment down below and hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just helps me out, and I do appreciate every single one of you guys. So go ahead, enjoy this video of me and Paul Elias having an awesome conversation. Today, we are having a conversation with the legend Paul Elias. Here he is right now. Let's go ahead and bring Mr. Paul Elias in. Waiting for Paul. Alright, there he is. Hey, Paul.
Hey, man, how's it going, Tim?
It's going good. It's going good. So for everybody that is following me right now, this guy right here, Mississippi Pro, he's got 8 major wins. He's got 56 top 10s, an MLF an MLF win, and still currently holds the heaviest weight in a 4-day 5-fish limit tournament of 132 pounds and 8 ounces on Falcon. That's insane.
Well, it was insane at the time, but it was an awful lot of fun too.
Oh, I bet. I bet your arms hurt after a while.
Well, you know what? It's very seldom that you show up at a lake and hit it so perfect for the way you like to fish, and that was just one of those times where it was just amazing how many schools of fish were on the outside.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you remember a lot about that tournament?
Yeah, probably every minute of it. yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. Obviously you won the Bassmaster Classic in 1982. What do you remember from that tournament? What did you use? And when did you realize that you were winning the Bassmaster Classic?
Well, I didn't really realize I was winning. I came in and I guess they were teasing me or whatever, but a bunch of guys were coming by saying that Bo Dowden had a big limit and Jack Chancellor had a big limit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the two closest to me. And I was sitting there in the boat. Of course, you're, nervous as you can be. I'd been fishing bass for 3 years. I'd fished a couple of other, I guess you'd call national trails before that, but the old Mercury guy, he's dead now, Roy Vigil, came by the boat and winked at me. He said, "Man, you got this." and I, it kind of eased me up a little bit, but I was a nervous wreck. But that whole leading up to that event was very, I guess, kind of, I don't know. You could feel something. I went over there and pre-fished, and I found the spot that I ended up winning the tournament on. And I knew it was probably a winning spot, or I felt like it could be a winning spot because I'd caught back-to-back 5-pounders there, and I never caught a 5-pounder in the tournament. But I knew it had a lot of potential. So, it's just one of those kind of another deal where you kind of, something in your mind's working, telling you something's going on,
Absolutely. So, if MLF were to have started in 1982, do you think it would have been totally different?
If MLF had started in 1982, well, my feelings on that is I just think everything has to evolve, and as far as that format had to evolve out of angler experiences, more so than anything else. And I personally have struggled with the angler mentality that we went through for so many years, and I felt like we were being led around with rings in our nose as far as what happened to us and how tournaments ran and how we didn't really have enough say so on how tournaments were ran. As far as Major League Fishing being the ultimate idea, or I can't say, yeah, I'm 100% sold on that, but I think it's the best thing that's been offered to the anglers so far. There's some mentality there that has to change, but I think it's the best format that's been offered to the anglers so far.
Awesome. That's awesome. So do you think that it's easier to go pro now than it was back in 1982?
No.
No? Carter?
No. It's up until probably after the year 2000, you really didn't have to qualify to be a professional angler. All you had to do was have enough money or enough will. In my circumstances, I didn't have enough money, but I had the fortitude and the will to So, I think all that has to come into play. But now at least there's a qualifying system to get to the professional level.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, do you remember the lure that you used in 1982, and is it still being used today?
Yes and no. I threw basically. I won that tournament on two baits. I won it on a Norman deep little end and a Bagley DB3.
Okay.
And the Bagley DB3 is probably basically history. Some people still use them. I still use them. But the Norman deep little end, as far as I know, is still available. But you got to take into consideration at that time in the lure industry, the deepest diving crankbait on the market ran about 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
And that was a Rebel deep. I actually forget the name of the bait, but it was the deepest diving bait at the time. Maxi-R. It was called a Maxi-R. And I actually caught the 2 5-pounders that I caught in pre-fishing for the Classic on a Maxi-R. And for some reason in the tournament I couldn't get them to bite. So, but then that when that turned into me sticking my rod down in water and doing the nail and reel thing and getting the deep little land in the DB3 to go deep enough to hit the brush that was there, or whatever cover it was there. So, in that respect, everything's again evolved to now 25 and 30 foot baits.
Now I'm out here in California. I just moved out here this year. I'm in the Navy, and before I was over Florida, so I fished a lot of tournaments in Florida, and it's just a complete 180. Have you ever fished out here before?
Yeah, I fished some California lakes. Not a lot, just where we've gone out there and had tournaments on Clear Lake and the Delta. I made a trip. Shaw Grigsby and I made a trip over to that lake that produces all those big spotted bass. I can't think of the name of that lake. You may know the name of it. I think the records come out of it. But anyway, I caught a 7.3 or something like that spotted bass on that trip. But as far as fishing a lot of the deeper California lakes and stuff, I haven't.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a learning curve for me, especially from fishing Florida, really shallow, dark water, and out here it's really deep and clear. So it's a complete 180. But those FX rods are getting put to the test, I'll tell you that. So speaking of FX rods, it's actually what what rods that you use as well. So tell me, if somebody was just wanting to try FX rods, or if they were just learning how to fish and they bought FX rods, what do you think their 5 top rods should be?
Of course, first of all, if you're gonna buy 5 FX rods, you're serious about getting into bass fishing.
Definitely.
And so I would recommend a 7.7 heavy action rod for say throwing a worm, throwing a jig. You do a lot of things, basically single hook, bigger diameter type fishing. So I would recommend a 7.7. I would recommend a 7.1 medium heavy.
My favorite.
And I would also recommend the new 7.1 heavy that he's come with, that is, I think, available now. That is a very good, similar action to a 7.7, I would say, but a shorter rod that you can do more things with. I would recommend a 7.6 medium heavy cranking action.
Yep.
Next I would recommend a 7.4 spinning action. To basically, you're definitely going to have a spinning action in your wardrobe. So,
Yep.
and that's right off the cuff. But those actions would definitely get you by. Of course, it's hard to. I might take one of those 7.1s out if I was only going to have 5 rods, and go with a 7.1 medium, like a square bill rod.
Yes.
So I would probably do that if I was trying to get the all around, deal for being able to do most everything. But the thing about FX custom rods, as I came up in the fishing industry, custom rods were, basically hand built by someone, and cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and that's something that I attribute to FX custom rods that I haven't seen in a lot of rod companies, is they've gotten it as close to having a custom rod built for yourself as you can basically get to, and not having to spend $300 or $400 for the rod.
Exactly.
So I think being able to get the actions and the look and using the the detail that FX custom rods goes through. I think that's as close as you can get to having your own personal custom built rod for a price under $2, which is amazing.
Oh, absolutely. What do you think separates like FX rods from any other rod company on the market right now? What makes them the best?
Well, the owner, one of the owners of the company, is a fisherman. Bob Crockton, when he designs a rod or is in the process of having a rod built that he thinks he needs in his line, it's the steps that they go through for the actions, is very important, and he understands, as far as how much weight can what determines the action by weight, as far as being able to in the bend of the rod and stuff, and so those actions are very well determined.
Yeah.
So when you pick that rod up and it says it's a heavy plus with a moderate tip, so go all that to get to that action is very important, because like that 7.4 heavy plus with a moderate tip, to me is better in some circumstances than a 7.7 heavy.
Yeah.
So do I want that little bit of moderate tip in there when I've got braid on, or when I'm when I'm fishing a Senko type bait, and with a 5 or 6 aught hook, large diameter hook, do I but I got to go with 15-pound test line or whatever, then I feel more comfortable with that moderate
Exactly.
tip than I do with a heavy tip. So setting the hook and things like that. So I think he goes into detail more on his actions.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. That's an absolutely true. And that's what drew me as well, is that not only is it the rods themselves, but it's the people behind the rods. Bob's a great guy, is a very approachable person, and I think the customer service that you get from the FX Rods crew is just unbelievable. So
yeah, but they care.
Exactly.
He cares about what people think of his rods, and that and I can honestly say, even though I've only been with FX a little over a year, that and I've said it several times, when I pick one of those rods up, and it says 7.1 medium, cranking action. It's a 7.1 medium cranking action, and it feels like it. It feels right, and so I don't know how many times in the past I've had to fight myself over what I want to throw this spinnerbait on. This feels a little too heavy, or this feels, this doesn't feel right. But most of the time, or practically every time, I put one of the FX custom rod actions in my hand to use for what it's designed for. It works, as far as I'm concerned, close to perfect.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to have one more question for you, Paul. I know you got to get going, but my final question to you is, what is your go-to lure?
I'm probably going to be throwing some type of crankbait, and probably, all around, it's going to be a bait that runs probably no more than 5 feet deep. And I'm really, in a panic mode and having to cover ground. I would say it's going to be some type of shallow diving bait, for 1.5. Man's has a bait called a C4 that basically runs about 4 feet deep, and so it's going to be something in that deal. If I'm down to the wire and need a bite, that's probably where I'm going to be. If not, if I'm just fishing, I would rather have a man's 20 plus or something like that tied on and searching deeper water. But usually you're not in that situation.
Exactly. Well, Paul, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today. Best of luck to you next year on the MLF tour, and I want to see you holding up one of those trophies.
Thank you, Tim. I really appreciate it. Believe me, I'm ready to hold another one up.
All righty, Paul. Well, hey, you take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Take care. I'll see you guys.
Wasn't that awesome, guys? I hope you guys got your questions answered, and if you didn't, leave them down below, and I will be sure to give them a call or shoot them a text and ask them some more questions, and I will answer them for you guys in the comments. So again, hit that like button for me, helps the algorithm, and leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the very next episode of Tim Kidwell Outdoors.